If you could step back into one childhood dream, what would it look like? For me, it looks a lot like this. A place where Disneyland Paris meets Alice in Wonderland, full of little moments that feel familiar and magical at the same time. Every detail feels like a page from a memory. If you love nostalgic fairy tale inspired builds, keep watching, because this one is meant to feel like a stepping into a dream. So let's hop into a build! I love Disneyland. I love all the Disney movies, old one, not the new ones. The new ones are somehow weird. And you can for sure find me in Disneyland at least once in every 2 years. For me, that's really the most magical place on the earth. I'm going there not because of the attractions, because actually I don't like carousels and I don't feel good doing that, but I'm going there just to walk on this main street, surrounded by the shops, surrounded by the princesses, surrounded by the food, surrounded by the music, surrounded by the whole atmosphere. I just love to dive in and soak the whole thing which the Disneyland is bringing. As you may know, I'm also from Europe, so I've never visited Disneyland in the States, which I know is a huge one, but the one which we have in Paris is big plenty, I would say. And now even I heard that they opened a new wing, which is supposed to be the Elsa's Frozen Castle, so I cannot wait until I will visit also that one. And my build was very much inspired by Disneyland, obviously, the name suggests so. I didn't want to make the exact copy, because I don't think I'm so talented to make it, and I also didn't want to make. I mean, I think on the gallery there is plenty of Disneylands already. I was just very much inspired by the Disneyland and by the layout of it and by the idea how everything is there, and I wanted to have this main street also captured. And since Sims released the Alice in Wonderland kit, it was that much easier to actually build this. And I started firstly with a castle. I didn't want to have this typical recognizable Disney castle, but I wanted to have the Red Queen's castle. We don't really see it in the movie, but this is how I was imagining it. The castle made from the cards. And of course the famous garden made from the roses, which are red. And if you remember in the movie they were playing croquet with the queen. We don't have the croquet, so I put the archery there. And they were using also flamingos, so I also placed their flamingos. I know they will not really use them to play with, but if you will play in this lot, then you will have at least the feeling. And also in my mind I was thinking what to do with this lot, because I don't know, when I'm playing I'm not very often really living in a castle, so I don't know how is your gameplay, but in my mind how you can utilize this lot is to make it into the camping for the kids. Imagine that, wouldn't it be wonderful if you're a kid and you're going into camping which is made in this way? I would love it so much. I would want to go there every year. I've also used way more packs than usually, but it's not that much. I think it's like 8 packs, and some of them you can swap. So for example, there is the Eco Lifestyle. I use just the roof from this pack, so if you don't have it, just replace the roof. I also use the Romantic Garden. I think in one point of time it was given for free, not to me. I used the rose bushes in the Queen's Garden because the bushes had to be red, of course, like the cards were painting the white roses into red, so it could not have been other color. And you know, in The Sims, when you use the plant fence, then the flowers on it are violet. So unfortunately, I could not use that. So, but if you don't have one of those 2 packs, you don't need it for this lot to work, because then you will just replace it with whatever else. The other packs which I was using there, I think they are needed, but again, maybe you're creative enough and you will find a way how you can utilize it even without the packs which you don't have. And now we are creating the main street. At least to me it's a main street. Maybe it's not, I don't know. Leave a comment if it's a main street also for you, or if there is some official main street. However, with this street I was trying to really make it similar to Disneyland, but I didn't want to have it the same. You can also notice that it's way smaller than in a Disneyland, because of course Disneyland is huge. Plus, these are also Sims 4, so I would also need to think what to place there. It was already challenging to place furniture in all of these buildings that it would make sense. And unfortunately we also don't have any carousels or something. I know there is, like in high school you have this big carousel which is spinning, but it's just a rabbit hole, so I haven't seen a need to place it here, because your sim would just go there, his needs will go up and you will not see the animation, you will not see anything really. So I built my own. I've placed there a rocket ship playground equipment, so your kid's sim can actually go up and really play there. And right now you can see me creating one of the stations, which is the Mad Hatter's house. I love how this turned out. Look at the hat on the rooftop, look at the T there. I think this was such a small detail and it looks so cool, plus it really resembles the house of the Mad Hatter. And of course I placed there the iconic table with the chairs of the Mad Hatter for the tea party. I've also placed on the table so many items. There is going to be definitely plenty of tea, and I also placed there these cakes which we received as the rewards, so I just sized them down. They are not really eatable. You can just delete them and create a real cake if you would wish so. However, I don't think it's going to be needed. There are so many food stalls around, so I didn't even bother to make there a kitchen because your sim does not need to cook there. And since this build is kind of fusion of Disneyland plus Alice in Wonderland, I also wanted to have there the stations which resemble the Disneyland. So, you know, in Disneyland Paris at least, there is this one part which is Indiana Jones and there are the rocks around, and I wanted to make it here. So I found this in a debug menu. I'm not sure if your sim can actually go into the cave and explore, maybe yes, so there will be an extra activity to do there. And I've also created kinda railroad there by myself. If you will look closely, you will see that the train tracks are actually leading to abyss. So if it would really work, I guess your sim would die there. So luckily it's just decorative and your sim will just statically play on the playground equipment. I also created custom made, of course, clock in the middle because White Rabbit is always late. I think there is a clock like this in some of the packs, but again, I didn't want to use the clock from one pack and use an extra pack just because of one clock, which you can actually do with the base game even only. And now you can see me decorating the inside of the shops. I was thinking how to make this. So this first one is going to be a Mad Hatter's coffee or something. So your sim can come here, drink a coffee, drink a tea, drink whatever. And I also place here this TV with the caterpillar because the caterpillar as a station is nowhere to be found because there was just no place, no space, no items really for the caterpillar, so I just place it at least here, that it's represented at least here. You can sit inside, you can sit outside, and also you can go, of course, upstairs to the toilets because your sim will need it. I also try to make it as in a Disneyland, so everything is supposed to be magical. As in the Disneyland, when you are there, even the toilets are having this Disney vibe. So in my mind, how the layout is made, one side, so the right side, is going to be for your sim to be able to eat, to be able to drink, to be able to get refreshments, and upstairs will be also space for the adults if you will choose to make it into the getaway. On the left side, this is a part which is only for kids, and this is for the skill building. The first room which I built is more for the logic-driven sims, so you have there the books, you have there the chess. This room which I'm making now is more for the creativity, and the last room which I'm making downstairs is just for the fantasy. I used in this room plenty of little campers kit, especially because the TV has the board games under and I love how it looked. However, again, you don't need to use this kit if you don't have it. Just swap it and place there just toys if you would wish so, or just place there whatever you want. It does not need to stay as I made it. This is just a layout which I made mainly also for myself because I definitely want to get away with my little sims here. I've also used playground equipments from Adventure Awaits pack, and if you are questioning, wait a minute, this section was not in Alice in Wonderland, it was not 100%, but if you remember, when she was sailing in a bottle across the sea made from her tears, she ended up on the island where there were animals dancing and singing to let themselves dry, and this is exactly the section which I wanted to create also here. Of course, I also used a couple of tricks here. I actually made shorts out of this, so if you're curious, check the link down below, because you don't need to have Growing Together pack to have the splash pads in The Sims. Just use the standard lamps and place there a fountain on top of it. If you have the wedding stories or if you have the wellness, then you can also use the lamp, which is in the shape of the ball, and you just place there the normal fountain, hide it inside, and then it has exactly the same effect. And off to the castle we go. I was thinking what to make here, and upstairs is going to be the bedrooms for the kid, and downstairs is going to be another extra activities for the kids to be able to raise their skills. As I was building, building this, I thought to myself, okay, if they're sleeping there, I mean, I know there are toilets everywhere else, but I guess in your game, when you will play and your Sims will wake up, they want to have also the bathrooms nearby. So I created here the bedrooms and the bathrooms. And here I made this small little room for the Alice. If you remember the scene when she's speaking through the keyhole and then she's seeing on the table just a cookie and just something to drink. So this is the room which in my mind was made for exactly this. And upstairs, I placed the showers. I decorated it a little, so there is going to be a lot of black, a lot of red, because it's a Red Queen's castle, so I was trying to keep the theme here too. However, this is just for your Sims to be able to take a shower, so to be able to increase their hygiene needs. I've also found in the debug menu these beautiful toppers which go on the wedding cake, but I enlarged them and placed them as a decoration on the castle. I think it looks so good. And then I replaced also the hearts in front. And as a last touch in the castle, I've also placed there plenty of roses. You may also notice that there is no stairs upstairs. It's gonna be there. I realized during playtesting that there is no way how they will get up. However, don't be alarmed that you could not see it here now. As the next stop on Alice's journey, there was a storytelling about the walrus and the carpenter who were opening a restaurant or pretending to open a restaurant just to lure the gullible oysters and then eat them. When I was a kid, this was such a scary scene. Honestly, until today, I hated that scene. I don't like it at all. And after this scene, I think Alice already found the white rabbit. And this is exactly his house. I was having so much fun creating this, and I think it turned out kind of okay, considering that we are in The Sims 4. I think it looks really good. And I turned it into a candy place, because if you think about it, White Rabbit downstairs, he had like living room and living space, and upstairs was his bedroom. However, I was thinking, wouldn't it be beautiful if downstairs will be the candy shop? I also placed there a carrot on the wall, and if you remember in the fairy tale, Alice was also eating the carrot from outside, so she was able to become smaller. That's why I also placed the carrots next to the house. And as I said in the beginning, I made it into getaway, and you will need definitely to have adults there. So I created this space only for the adults, so I was thinking if it's a camping, then these are the teachers who are there to take care of you when you are in this summer camp, and they need some space to be. So I placed there the beds around, and I made their kind of living space in the middle. But that's it. I'm also not paying too much attention to it because it's not the main purpose of the build. And I also swap here the candy stall because I didn't want to repeat myself. We have it already in the Mad Hatter's place where it's supposed to be for the coffees and the teas, and here was this beautiful pink stall and I swapped it with that one, and I think it was fitting way better. And as the last room which we will create is the upstairs of the kids area. Upstairs I made it into a playroom which is more digital, so there is a lot of these digital play mats, and then there is darts, and then there is a TV with the console that the kids can play. And here I also place here this bird house, and I put there also a statue of the bird with the eggs, because again in Alice there was a scene when Alice was messing up with the bird and the bird thought that she wants to eat her eggs because she's a snake. And that was the last step on our journey. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to receive the notification every time that I will post. Thank you for watching, have a wonderful rest of the day, and see you next time. Bye bye!